Hello movie barfs and welcome back to the channel. If you've ever wished you could turn into an adult when you were still a kid, you definitely relate to the movie Big. It's something every one of us has wished for at some point in time, especially when our childhood becomes crappy. And that's one of the main reasons why this movie is such a classic. The age-changing or body swap trope is a recurring theme that we've seen in movies for quite some time. But instead of having the character go from an adult to a teen, Big flips the script and does the opposite, and has his character go from a child to an adult instead. This movie captures the innocence of childhood beautifully. It tells a compelling story sprinkled with some sobering and heart-tugging truths, while at the same time it's downright entertaining to see a 13-year-old boy trying to live as an adult. The film begins with the main character of Josh Baskin, a 13-year-old boy living in the suburbs who becomes frustrated one night when he's told he's not big enough to sit at a carnival ride. Feeling humiliated in front of the girl he has a crush on, Josh walks away to find a creepy wish-granting machine that is somehow still on despite being plugged off. Josh makes a wish to be big and receives a note that his wish is granted. But the next morning, much to his shock, he discovers that he's now in the body of a grown-up version of himself, while his mother believes that he kidnapped her son and chases him out. With the help of his best friend, Josh flees to the city, where he must learn the complexities of what it takes to survive as an adult as they search together for the wishing machine to revert him back to a boy. The main draw of the film, without a doubt, has to be Tom Hanks' performance as the adult Josh Baskin. In one word, I would describe it as spellbinding. Much of the charm and heart of this film comes from his ability to convince you that he's an innocent 13-year-old man-child. You see his childlike actions in everything, from him curling his legs underneath him while sitting at his desk, to drinking milk at a cocktail party and raising his hand up before being allowed to speak. It's been said that the director actually filmed all of the scenes with Tom Hanks with the young Josh Baskin first, and then showed it to him as a reference for how a child would act in those situations. This was a star-making role for Tom Hanks after a series of comedies in the 80s, and seeing his performance here, it's no wonder he became one of the biggest stars of the 90s. But I'm surprised by how much of it's flown under the radar over time. Mention Tom Hanks and most people would think of Forrest Gump or Philadelphia or Toy Story's Woody. But Big is definitely a movie in the same caliber as those films and deserves to be just as recognized, at least for such a unique performance. The movie explores several themes, one of which is that deep down, there's still a kid in all of us, and that childlikeness is to be admired, while childishness is frowned upon. The contrast is seen clearly when we juxtapose Josh and Paul, the antagonist, a douchey executive at the same toy company they work at. It's worth noting that Josh has enviable success both in his job and his relationship with Susan because of his innocence and purity, while conniving politics-playing Paul gets outshined and dumped by Susan. And in the most paradoxical statement of the film, when Susan breaks up with Paul, she tells him that what makes Josh special is that he's a grown-up. Ironic, no doubt, but at the same time thought-provoking. It's a sobering reminder that maturity doesn't always correlate with age, and that in real life some of the older people can be just downright immature, just like Paul. Ultimately, at its core, Big reminds us of the innocence of youth and treasuring whatever stage of life we're in at the moment. Young Josh is frustrated with being a kid, but he soon learns that being an adult is no bed of roses. Just like Josh, when we're kids, we can't wait to grow up. But when we do become adults, we have responsibilities and it's easy to be jaded by the mundane adult world. While he's in love with Susan and he has a level of success in his career that some can only dream about, he doesn't want to miss out on the thrills of growing up. With the responsibilities of his job and his relationship commitment with Susan, he soon forgets what it's like to be a kid, leaving his kid fantasy loft house behind and becomes too busy with meetings and deadlines to spend time with his best friend. In one of the most emotional scenes of the movie, Josh notices the small moments that make childhood worth living for, like the simple act of playing in a pile of leaves with your friends, a junior high class photo taking session, and hanging out in a car with a group of friends. It was an excellent case of visual storytelling, even with no words spoken. In just a few seconds of screen time, you can see and understand the dilemma Josh is going through just by looking at his face. While the leap from boy to man has spared him the struggles of childhood, it has also deprived him of the fun of it. And whether it's childhood or adulthood, that scene serves as a reminder that we shouldn't miss out on the simple moments of life amidst the chase for status and materialism. At the end of the day, time is our most precious commodity, and each moment that passes is one we can never get back. And this film hammers this truth home in a most compelling way. But one thing I feel the film could delve more into was the tough reality of adulthood. Other than his first tearful night in Manhattan where he stays at a rundown brothel, Josh's adult experience was almost fairy tale-like. He somehow gets a job at a toy company without a proper resume or references, and after a chance encounter with the boss, he gets promoted to vice president. The guy has more success in a week than some have in their lifetime. The level of serendipity here can give Forrest Gump a run for its money, but I guess we can extend more suspension of disbelief for a film that can transform a kid into an adult overnight. The supporting characters here are superb too, including Josh's best friend and his charismatic boss at the toy company. Elizabeth Perkins plays the incisive Susan, Josh's love interest who falls for him after seeing his innocence, and she has great chemistry with Tom Hanks. And is it just me, or does she look like an older version of Millie Bobby Brown? Overall, Big was a heartwarming and entertaining experience with intelligent laughs, superb acting, and a ton of heart. It's a magical feel-good film with well-written characters, a timeless message without coming across as preachy, and is excellently portrayed by its well-rounded cast. If you're in the mood for 80s nostalgia, this movie would be perfect for it. That scene with Josh and his boss playing the walking piano is probably the most iconic one of the movie and will bring a smile to your face. The ending is touching and worth the build-up, and it's hard not to feel a tinge of emotion at that moment when the film's message hits home on so many levels. Hollywood has many age-changing movies, but not many of them have the emotional depth that Big so effectively portrays. Thanks for watching, folks. Before you go, which is your favorite body swap movie? Is Big the best of them all? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time.